Eli, my teenage son, would you like to know how you can increase your circle of friends? I mean, enlarge your posse? Stay tuned. Hello again, everyone. I'm Eli's dad with Project Eli, where we educate, we lead, and we inspire. And recently I was reading my monthly article in Cosmopolitan magazine, Can This Marriage Be Saved? It didn't do me very much good. But in addition to that article, I also saw some articles in that magazine and other places about how it's easier to socialize, how you can make friends. And when I was looking at all the different points that these articles made, it came to my mind that really, as a sales trainer, what they were talking about was a sales job. You know, one of the things that my main mentor, Bob Anderson, used to stress all the time was, Eli's dad, everything is a sales job. And that is so true, because when you're trying to make friends, when you're trying to meet new people, aren't you really just selling yourself? You are, aren't you? So let's go over some of the points about in sales and how they apply to you as an individual when you're trying to increase your circle of friends, when you're trying to, as we say, enlarge your posse. Now, first thing I want to say is, what you want to do is you want to put people at ease. You know, when I was in the sales business, knocking on doors, or as one of my old mentors used to say, Mort Mutnick used to say, carrying a briefcase, one of my friends said to me, so let me see if I understand what you do for a living. You go out, you knock on somebody's door that you've never met, you weasel your way into their house, you sit down in their house, and you sell them something, and then at the end, you're walking out with a check for somewhere between $40 and $100. And I would always point out to her that, well, in addition to that, we'd also get referrals. That's a lot of stuff to do, isn't it? Her response was, boy, I could never do that. And my answer to that is, not only can you do that, but you know how to do that. And I want to give you some baseline things that you can think of to make this easier for you. The best example I can give you is, let's say you're an adult and you're going into somebody's home and they have little children. Let's say their kids are, you know, somewhere between 5 and 8 or even younger than that. And the first thing you do is you know, the parents introduce you, you know, this is my son Damien or Woody or Fred or whatever his name is. And the first thing you do is you say their name. Hi Fred, hi Woody, hi Damien, whatever their name is. People like to hear their name. Now, what happens a lot of the times when you do that? When you have a little kid and they don't know you from Adam, what they do is they'll go up and they'll grab their parent's leg and they'll hold on to the parent's leg. You know, I don't know this person, I'm afraid of this person. So you have some barriers to break down, don't you? So once again, the first thing you want to do is make sure that you remember people's names. That's an old Dale Carnegie maxim from How to Win Friends and Influence People, and it's a key thing. I don't have a very good memory, but the key thing is I'll actually write down people's names afterwards just so I can get them in my mind. You want to keep people's names down there. Okay, that's an important thing to know. So, because a person's favorite thing to hear is their own name. Always remember that. Now, the next thing, let's go back to our analogy of talking with a little kid. The first thing you want to do is you want to recognize that they're uncomfortable, so you want to get them to the point where they are comfortable. So you want to be very conscious of, as an example, your posture. So if you're leaning forward with somebody, that tends to be somewhat of an aggressive posture. And so what you want to do is you kind of want to lean back, you want to relax, and you'll find that people will mirror your posture. Let me give you an example of that you may know. When you go someplace, when you go to a bar, you go to a restaurant or something like that, and there are people sitting at the counter, they're there, and they got their, they're holding their beer, and everybody's in that same posture, people will tend to mirror your posture. So if you want people to be relaxed around you, then you must assume a relaxed posture. Next thing, you want that little boy or that little girl to warm up to you a little bit. And this is all from what we used to call in sales the warm-up. All right? You want them to warm up to you. So what do? Well, the first thing you do is you point out something that is important to them. So like if you're, let's say, in their room and the guy has a train and the kid has a train set, you say, "Whoa, that's a pretty good train set. How long have you had that?" And then the little boy or the little girl has the opportunity now to show you what they know. You've given them the opportunity to teach you something. People love to give advice. People love to teach other people things. That makes them more relaxed because they're talking about something that they feel that they are, quote unquote, an expert in. So make your friends, make the people that you're trying to warm up feel like an expert, getting them to speak about something that they know. And when I would go into the house, we would use, essentially what I call the wow approach, where you'd walk into somebody's house and you go, "Wow, wow, wow," until they would say, "Yeah, let me tell you about that." And then they would start teaching you about it. Okay? So get people to teach you something, and you don't want to be an expert yourself until the time is right, is in sales. And when you're developing friends, then you want to do that, you want to ease into that a little bit. But get people to teach you something, teach you what they know, and they will feel better about it than if you don't do that. Okay, it's kind of as simple as that. Give them the opportunity to teach you something, and then when it's your turn to teach them something, common courtesy dictates that they will listen. Another thing when you're talking to a little kid, speak to them in their own language. Now, you tone down your language. You make it simple for little kids. Like, "Whoa, look at that, isn't that?" And then they'll start teaching you about that. And you speak to them in their own language. As an example, at the very beginning of this video, I mentioned, enlarge your circle of friends. And then I said, make your posse bigger. That's the language you speak right now, Eli, is I'm trying to learn your language and speak your language to get along a little bit better with you. Does that make sense? All right, so speak to people in their own language. Don't be this guy, all right? It's better to be that guy than this guy when you're trying to make friends. Point out similarities that you have, things that you have in common. Eli, I already know by now that one of your big goals right now is basketball, and the other one is making friends with people of the opposite gender, which you have. I understand you have a girlfriend right now, which you're very happy with, which is nice. And one of the things that you want to do that is a bonding thing is you talk about things that you have in common. And one of the best ways when you're talking to people in common is if you make a joke and you can both laugh at it and you can both smile at it, that is a bonding experience. So aim for things like that you can share, that you have in common, and that will increase the things that you can talk about. Also, when you're first meeting people, you want to start off by asking questions where you want to get them to talk. Once again, you want to get them to teach you something. Ask them easy questions that they know about. As an example, when I was in the sales mode, I was, how many children do you have? Okay, they know how many children they have. How long have you lived in this house? They know how long they've lived in this house. I mean, these are easy questions. You get them to start talking, all right? And then you can expand your questions from there. So like in today's times, you might say, so who was it that you voted for, or who was it that you were rooting for in the presidential election? And then they'll be able to give you a definitive answer. I like this guy, or I like that guy. and you know, what was it you liked about him, and they have a specific answer why they liked about him, as opposed to saying, well, in the year 2024, who's your favorite presidential candidate going to be? Okay, then they have to think. So when you're in the mode of trying to make friends, when you're trying to warm people up, when you're trying to bond, you don't want to have those awkward pauses where people have to think. You want to keep the conversation going. That's why, excuse me, when you're talking with a little kid, you know, you say, oh, this is your training, show me how it works. Okay, and then he'll show you how it works. All right, there's no pause there. The little kid doesn't have to think. Same thing works with adults. All right, so when you're trying to make friends, focus on keeping the conversation going and eliminating those awkward pauses, because those awkward pauses are discomforting. You know, it's the same type of thing I remember when my father would be angry with me, which wasn't very often, okay, but there were times when he was angry with me. He says, do you understand? Do you understand? And I would sit there and I would be quiet. And you say, well, do you understand? Yes, Dad. And then he would frequently end it with, put that in your pipe and smoke it. And we know that that was the end of the conversation. All right, but you don't want to do that when you're making friends. You want to have sort of a, you know, an equal setting, you know, where you're both equal and stuff. So ask questions where you give that person the chance to expand, the chance of that person to be an expert, for that person to teach you something, and then they will be more comfortable with you. And the more comfortable they are with you, then the easier it will be to bond. By the same token, there are some times when I had, let's say I was on a business trip, and I'd be sitting down next to a chatty Kathy in the next seat, and when you're on a long plane flight, some people like to talk. I like to talk too, but sometimes I had work that I wanted to do. I wanted to make positive time out of the negative travel time. I wanted to make that productive time, so I had work to do, and I wanted people to, leave me alone, let me do my work. But you'd have a lady or a gentleman that would, start talking to you, start asking you questions, and then ultimately they always get around to the question, so, what do you do for a living? And when I wanted to get rid of that person and I wanted to get to work, I would say, I sell insurance. And that would effectively end all conversation, because people don't want to buy insurance. They don't want to be sold. So that would effectively end the conversation. So it works both ways. So think of things, that way. But most importantly, once again, is getting people to feel comfortable around you, to relax around you. And the easiest way to do that, the shortest distance between two people, is a smile. So remember to always smile. Remember to smile with your eyes, okay? Because people can see that. And especially now, where people are wearing masks all the time, you smile with your eyes. That's critically important now. I've noticed that. More people are starting to smile with their eyes. Smile with your eyes. Pay attention. And especially in the beginning, you want to listen more often than you want to talk. You want to be interested in them and not interesting yourself. So these are some tips to help you increase the size of your posse, Eli. And it works with teenagers, it works with adults, it works with little kids. Whenever you're trying to figure out a right way to act, always go back to a time when you're, with a little child, and the things that you would do with that child to create a bond. All right, you smile at them, you say their name, you get them to teach you something, you speak in their language. These are the things that you want to do, and they work with little kids and they work with adults. And because we'll never end a session or a meeting on a philosophical note, let's go out there, let's make some friends, and charge! I'm Eli's dad.